It was a sunny day in Los Angeles, California. The city was buzzing with activity as people went about their daily business. But amidst the hustle and bustle, a group of thieves was planning something big. Their target was a jewelry exhibition being held at a luxurious hotel in the heart of the city. The exhibition featured some of the most valuable diamonds in the world, and the thieves were determined to get their hands on them. The leader of the group was a man named Ethan Sawyer. Ethan was a quiet and reserved person who kept to himself. But despite his calm exterior, he had a secret. He was a master thief. Ethan had been planning the heist for months. He had assembled a team of experts, each with their own unique skills. There was Lily Chen, an expert in disguise and deception. There was also Ryder Jackson, a skilled hacker who could bypass even the most secure security systems. Together, the team had been watching the hotel for weeks, studying its security systems and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And on this sunny day in Los Angeles, they finally made their move. The heist was carried out with precision and skill. Ethan and his team snuck into the hotel through a ventilation shaft, avoiding the security cameras and guards. They made their way to the exhibition hall, where they quickly got to work. Lily used her skills to disable the security alarms, while Ryder hacked into the hotel's computer system to shut down the cameras. Meanwhile, Ethan and the rest of the team got to work cracking the display cases and snatching the diamonds. The whole operation took less than 10 minutes. By the time the security guards realized what was happening, Ethan and his team were already making their escape. They slipped out of the hotel through a side door, disappearing into the crowded streets of Los Angeles. The police were left scrambling to figure out what had happened, but Ethan and his team were long gone. The heist made headlines around the world. The police were baffled, and the owners of the stolen diamonds were devastated. But Ethan and his team were celebrating. They had pulled off the heist of a lifetime, and they had gotten away with it. Or so they thought. Enter Julian Stiles, a tough and experienced detective with a reputation for being one of the best in the business. Julian had been assigned to the case, and he was determined to solve it. Julian started by reviewing the security footage from the hotel. He spent hours poring over the tapes, looking for any clues that might lead him to the thieves. And then, he saw something. A glimpse of a face, partially hidden behind a mask. It was Ethan Sawyer, and Julian was convinced that he was the mastermind behind the heist. Julian spent the next few weeks gathering evidence and building a case against Ethan. He interviewed witnesses, followed up on leads, and slowly but surely, he started to piece together the events of the heist. But despite his best efforts, Julian couldn't find enough evidence to prove Ethan's guilt. The case was going cold, and Julian was getting frustrated. The case finally went to trial, but the outcome was not what Julian had hoped for. Due to lack of evidence, Ethan was acquitted of all charges. Julian was devastated. He had been so sure that Ethan was guilty, and he couldn't believe that he had gotten away with it. But Ethan's acquittal was not the end of the story. Julian was determined to prove his guilt, and he continued to investigate him. Ethan's life was forever changed by the heist. He had been acquitted, but he knew that he would never be able to go back to his old life. He started to rebuild, slowly but surely. He met a woman named Ava Morales, and they started a relationship. Ava was a kind and gentle person, and she saw something in Ethan that no one else did. She saw a good man who had been wrongly accused, and she fell in love with him. Ethan and Ava got married, and they started a new life together. But Ethan's past continued to haunt him. Julian Stiles was still investigating him, and Ethan knew that he would never be able to fully escape his past. Years went by, and Ethan and Ava built a happy life together. They had children, and they became a loving family. But Ethan never forgot about the heist. He had gotten away with it, but he knew that he would never be able to fully escape his past. And then, one day, Ethan received a mysterious message. It was from an unknown number, and it read, "I know what you did." Ethan was shocked and scared. Who could have sent the message? And how did they know about the heist? As Ethan tried to figure out who sent the message, he realized that his past was catching up with him. He started to feel anxious and paranoid, wondering if someone was watching him. Ethan tried to brush off the feeling, but he couldn't shake it off. He started to make mistakes at work, and his relationships with his family and friends began to suffer. One day, Ethan received another message. This time, it was a photo of him and his family, taken outside their home. The message read, "You can't hide forever." Ethan was terrified. He knew that he had to do something to protect his family. He went to the police and told them about the messages, but they couldn't do anything without concrete evidence. Ethan was desperate. He didn't know what to do or who to turn to. He felt like he was living in a nightmare, and he didn't know how to wake up. And then, one day, Ethan saw Julian Stiles, the detective who had investigated him years ago. Julian was sitting in a car outside Ethan's office, watching him. Ethan felt a surge of fear. He knew that Julian had finally found him, and he knew that he was in trouble. Ethan tried to run, but Julian was too quick. He caught Ethan and took him to the police station. At the station, Julian revealed that he had been investigating Ethan for years. He had finally found the evidence he needed to prove Ethan's guilt, and he was determined to bring him to justice. Ethan was shocked. He had thought that he had gotten away with the heist, but now he realized that he had been wrong. As Julian questioned Ethan, he revealed that he had been working with Lily Chen, the woman who had helped him steal the diamonds. Lily had been hiding the diamonds in a bonsai pot, and Ethan had been trying to get them back. But Julian was one step ahead. He had found the bonsai pot, and he had recovered the stolen diamonds. Ethan was arrested and charged with the crime. he was found guilty and sentenced to prison. As Ethan sat in his cell, he realized that he had made a mistake. He had thought that he could get away with the heist, but now he knew that he had been wrong. Ethan's family was devastated by his arrest. They had thought that he was innocent, and they couldn't believe that he had been involved in the heist. Ava, Ethan's wife, was heartbroken. She had stood by Ethan throughout the investigation, and she had believed in his innocence. Now, she felt betrayed and hurt. Ethan's children were also affected by his arrest. They had looked up to their father as a role model, and now they felt ashamed and embarrassed. In the end, Ethan realized that crime doesn't pay. He had thought that he could get away with the heist, but in the end, he was caught and punished. His story serves as a reminder that crime has consequences, and that it's never worth the risk. Julian Stiles, the detective who had investigated Ethan, felt a sense of satisfaction and closure when Ethan was finally brought to justice. He had worked tirelessly to solve the case, and it had taken a toll on his personal life. But as Julian reflected on the case, he realized that he had become obsessed with proving Ethan's guilt. He had let his desire for justice cloud his judgment, and he had lost sight of what was truly important. In the end, Julian learned a valuable lesson about the importance of balance and perspective. He realized that justice was not just about punishing the guilty, but also about protecting the innocent and upholding the law. As for Ethan, he spent several years in prison, reflecting on his actions and the consequences of his mistakes. He realized that he had been blinded by his own ambition and greed, and that he had hurt the people he loved. But even in prison, Ethan found a way to redeem himself. He became involved in a prison ministry program, where he helped other inmates to turn their lives around. When Ethan was finally released from prison, he was a changed man. He was humble and grateful for a second chance, and he was determined to make the most of it. Ethan reunited with his family, and they began the long process of healing and rebuilding. It wasn't easy, but they worked together to forgive and move forward. In the end, Ethan's story was one of redemption and second chances. He had made mistakes, but he had learned from them. And he had emerged from his experiences a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate person.